It's a universal truth that we all die one day. How do we how do you even prepare for that? And then specifically for this black woman who is at the top of her scientific field, who is brilliant. She's never had to grapple with something that she doesn't think she can conquer or fix or figure out. And so I think it's a very human story at a base level. I think it comes in really heavy on the science end, but I think that it's something that a lot of people can find themselves
But
in.
have you ever thought, what if this is all just a dream? Have you ever thought?
My name is Markus Cook. I am a filmmaker based out of Cincinnati, Ohio. I run a small production company called Montcharlet. I had the privilege this year to work with the 2024 Black and Brown Artist Grant on a film called The Coming Sleep. We are currently in post-production on that film, and it's going to be going to festivals next year. The Coming Sleep is a film about a neurobiologist who is presenting an experiment to prove whether or not the soul really exists, and if it does exist, can we monitor and visualize it in our physical world? And so it's a high concept film on the surface, but it's really about her journey and personal story of loss and coming to an understanding of something that we all deal with eventually, which is death. It can seem kind of like a grim story on the surface, but I think it's really an exploration of what it takes to really like reckon with acceptance of something that we can't necessarily stop. And I think one of the unique reasons that it was so crucial to partner with the Black and Brown Artist Grant on making this film was because, like I was saying earlier, the truth and innovation concept is this is a truth that is universal. That as morbid as it sounds, it's a universal truth that we all die one day. How do we how do you even prepare for that? And then specifically for this black woman who is at the top of her scientific field, who is brilliant. She's never had to grapple with something that she doesn't think she can conquer or fix or figure out. And so I think it's a very human story at a base level. I think it comes in really heavy on the science end, but I think that it's something that a lot of people can find themselves in. The film that everyone at the Black and Brown Artist Showcase got to see this past weekend, and that you may have been able to see online or however, that is a 5-minute preview of the feature-length film. We actually have a full-length film coming out next year that's going to be sent primarily to festivals as a feature film. So right now what we're sharing is a quick preview to just kind of give people an idea of where the story takes them. This is my 5th feature film. I usually don't work in, the heavy drama side of stuff. I usually do, thrillers or action dramas and things like that. So there's usually something else tacked on. This was strictly a drama story. Something that I felt was like so focused on that the human condition and the experience that a lot of us grapple with. Loss is again a universal experience. We've just happened to wrap that in a story that's got a lot of other elements to it. So The Coming Sleep has been a story in my mind for a few years. I tend to write a lot of my story ideas out and then just kind of store them away until I feel that the conditions are right for that story to come to life. And when I heard about the grant, I was like, you know what, this might be a great opportunity for this specific story. I felt like the two had perfect synergy. So it was a great opportunity for me as a filmmaker, but it was a great opportunity for that story to swim to the surface. I think a lot of times we try to force things into being, and it might not be the right time or the right opportunity or elements. And so for this story, I felt like, hey, this is a good moment. This is a good organization to partner with. And so, I'm just really thankful that they selected me. The name The Coming Sleep came about, and this is I don't know. I don't know anyone else who does this. I still haven't figured out a way around it. I tend to write names of stories first, and then the ideas and the images follow behind. So the coming sleep, can't really tell you where that came from, but when I started to think about it, to me that was, you know, the concept of death. And so then I started to think of someone who was trying to cheat death essentially, and the most I started to do a little bit of research about scientists and what they believe or disbelieve about the soul. And I was like, that's such an interesting concept of a scientist being forced to reckon with their loved ones who are dying, and what might they do to circumvent that if that was even possible. Our scientist Naomi in the story, I guess cheat death isn't the perfect way of describing it. Her hope is to prove that if the soul exists, maybe there's hope that some of the other ideas we have around the soul are true. If I can prove that when people die here, they still exist somewhere, then there's a chance I could be reunited with my loved ones at some point in time, somehow. And so she's trying to prove that they don't just stop existing. And with her experiment, she is looking to separate the soul from a physical body for a moment so that they can observe it free from the body to prove that the soul, the concept of a soul, you actually exist when your body fails and stuff. So the science is a little murky. That was a good long 4 months of research when I was writing it. But yeah, that at a glance, that was kind of the concept of truth and innovation, and how that's presented in The Coming Sleep again is kind of this idea that all of us, even no matter what your religious views are, no matter what your general worldview is comprised of, I think a lot of us would like to hope that there's something after death. And this story is about this character, this scientist, reckoning with the truth of death, and also trying to discover that truth of, is there life after death? Personally, I believe that there is life after death, and I do believe that we do have the chance to be reunited with our loved ones. And I think this film was a kind of cathartic way for me to express my own grief, but also for me to provide a window for others to view their own grief through and hopefully experience some kind of closure. Making films is a huge joy for me, but I got to work with a lot of talent and a lot of people who, even on set, everyone was impacted by the story and what we were trying to do. And I think there was just so much like mutual understanding of the experience, and that really drove home just how human the experience is. And again, kind of that whole desire to create catharsis for people. I think that was just, as a filmmaker and a creative, there's a lot of insecurity sometimes about whether or not you're telling a story that's worth anything, or something that people are going to connect with. And I just was constantly reminded, even now in post production, this is something that people are connecting with on an emotional level, and that's a huge thing for me. Yeah, so I know AI is a bit of a bear for creatives, especially in the visual industry that I'm in. But I do think it has its place. And so what we did in The Coming Sleep was, there were certain things we can't put a camera on, like the process of neurons separating. So we used AI to craft things that we couldn't budgetary wise or visually create out of tangible elements. So in that case, it was just a huge boon for us to be able to make those small elements.